Welcome back, everyone. We are here again on YouTube and LinkedIn with another exciting episode of the Top Innovator Series. This is where we dive into game-changing strategies and insightful leadership ideas. And of course, we hear from the brilliant minds behind all of them. My name is Joseph Martens, and I'm thrilled to introduce our guest today. With us today is Mex Emini. Mex is the co-founder of DataFlair, a company in the gaming industry that turns player conversations into actionable insights. Before that, he's been the CTO and tech executive of various companies, and we're thrilled to have him with us in the conversation today. Mex, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me and an honor to be in this podcast as well.
Max, you run a company, you've been in the C-suite of companies, you're clearly successful in your journey. When you look at your own growth, when you look at your own trajectory as a leader, what do you think are some of the things that made you successful? What are some of the ingredients of the success that you've had?
I believe that there are several ingredients, but one of the core ingredients that I tend to believe that helped me achieve to a certain level in my career is to be a constant student of
Okay.
of the industry, of trying to learn. I've been learning, all the way from the bottom up, and I've been open to new ideas, to recommendations, to suggestions, and mentoring. So I would say to mentoring, learning would be one of the core ingredients. Another ingredient is to um, always stay open to what's happening around the industry. Be on top of the industry insights, and so on. And I would say the third thing is learn how to work with people. At the beginning, I used to struggle. I
Hmm.
was a developer, and as a developer, I learned the hard way how to work with people. And once I started learning how to work with people, and I got better and better, and that helped me achieve my career goals.
So this, I love it. So the openness to learning, right? And
Yeah.
it's important, and at the same time, it's tempting to let it go because at some point we might get comfortable. We might feel like this is enough or things are working. How do you break through that? How do you keep that fresh? How do you keep that fire or that hunger present?
Well, what I really appreciate, especially when I used to work in companies at C level, is this constant hunger for new challenges.
Hmm.
Whenever there was a new initiative or new idea, or I would come up with a new idea, or someone else would come up with a new idea, I would get very curious about it. So I would say curiosity here is the key, and that curiosity brought the challenge, to implement an idea, especially if the idea was quite ambitious and there were a lot of
Yep.
unknowns and stuff. So I loved experimenting and trying new ideas, and that's how I always kept my motivation and
Yeah.
my curiosity and got things going.
How do you share that with a team? So I get it for yourself, and you probably want your team to be of a similar mindset. How do you get them to buy into that they're also looking, searching, ready, and open for something new?
That's a very good question, Joseph. That's a very good question. I love the question. So what I usually do with the team is I want to make sure that I create the safe space for failure. And when you have that safe space for failure, the ideas start to breathe. And usually I would just hint something, but my
Mm,
ultimate goal is to make it look like it was their idea. And when someone believes that they contribute to an idea and it's being implemented, they take a lot more ownership and action on it. So, even though probably it was something that the corporate wanted to do as an initiative, as soon as you made it feel like it was coming from the bottom, those ideas, they happen naturally because people start taking ownership. So I believe in this bottom
love
up
it.
implementation of ideas.
Got it. Let's take a look at your leadership journey from a completely different perspective. I imagine you had mentors, you had trusted advisors, or you had some models that were there along your journey. When you think of these people, what is something that was important to you, something you picked up from them, something they shared with you or you saw in them? and something that still sticks with you today?
Yes, so that's a good question. From my role models, I saw a couple of traits. I saw their resilience. Number one was the resilience. So they went through adversity, like many people go. They knew how to bounce back from failures. They knew how to be, to check their uh, conscious and subconscious bias.
Mm.
Uh, so they learned these things along the way, and that's what made them special and successful. Uh, and I also used to work on these traits, do the reality check with my mentors in the past. And I would say, once you overcome, or you're at least conscious or aware of your bias, you can bounce back from adversity, stay motivated, and most importantly, be resilient, especially under tough pressure. As the higher you get on the corporate ladder, the bigger the pressure. I think those would be the three key ingredients.
Got it. Again, thinking of these people, is there something that you saw in them that you admired and you wish you had more of it? Something where you say, "Oh, I see it there and I don't see it here. I
I
wish
would,
I could get
yeah,
this."
I would definitely that bouncing back from failure.
Okay,
I do consider myself lucky. I did have failures in the past, but my role models had much bigger failures, and they bounced back. And and I wish I could have that trait.
got it. Very cool. Thank you. I remember a quote there. I can't remember who said it. It was some giant of industry who said, "If you haven't lost your company $1 million yet, you haven't tried anything yet." Something like that,
Exactly,
right? And mhm,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let's take another look at your leadership journey. Was there a moment that really surprised you? A moment where you thought you have a clear idea of how to handle the situation? Conversation, some management action that you had to take, and you thought you knew what's going to happen, and it went in a totally different direction.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely, I had situations like that. I think my one of my biggest realizations was that realizing that not everyone is motivated by achievement, and not everyone has the same intrinsic motivation as you have.
Okay.
As and this is also, I come back to that bias. Is I used to think that just because I'm that motivated pushing guy, that everyone has the same intrinsic motivation. Once I learned that people have different motives, they have different ways of getting inspired and motivated. That's what helped me learn a lot more about leadership, and that's how I figured out that the way I've been doing things, even though I was very confident that I'm doing it the right way, I'm motivating people, I realized mm, I haven't been doing the right thing, because not everyone is motivated by achievement. Some people are motivated by
Yeah.
different stuff, different things.
Yeah.
And I would say this was one of the biggest realization in
Yeah.
my career.
It's so easy to extrapolate from us, right? Because we see the world a certain way, including our own motivation, what the drivers are,
Yeah,
and why should it be different for other people? Yeah.
exactly.
Max, we talked about your past. I would like to take a look at where you are today. And this is, again, not a question about companies or roles or so. It's still a question about growth journeys here. When you look at where you are today, what's an area that you are focusing on at the moment for your own leadership development? What's an area where you feel I can do more here? There is more I can offer, and I want to get there.
Well, that's a good question. So I believe right now I'm at a stage of my career where I say, hey, I've accumulated all of this knowledge. I've had all this
Mhm.
success in the corporate world, and I have a lot more to give. So I want to do it on my own company, uh, in a way that I have the full autonomy, and in a way that I can build things that I always wanted to build, and I can create value that I always wanted to create. So now I'm at the stage of, equally learning, because you have to keep up with AI and everything that's moving so fast, but also building all these great things. I believe great things that somehow I've built in the past to a certain extent, but perfecting them and taking it to the next level. So that's where I am right now. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And what do you think is needed for that? Speculate. So, I mean, this sounds like so many things, right? Where
I
do you
think
start?
it takes a lot of ingredients. Sometimes you have to get a lot of things right.
Right.
It takes a lot of learning. It takes courage. It takes a lot of
Mm.
experimentation. It takes a lot of realization that you're gonna fail. You're definitely gonna fail, but you're gonna learn from that failure. And it takes a lot of resilience as well. And
Yeah.
it's a different world.
Yeah.
It's a different world when you're on a corporate ladder and managing hundreds of people, and it's a different world when you start something on your own from,
Yeah.
from nothing from
Totally.
scratch. Yeah. Mm.
Totally. Now, I'm sure over the years you've accumulated quite a wide range of leadership tools or techniques or practices that are useful in leading an organization. Is there something that you have as a go-to tool, something that you feel this always works? When you're stuck, that's the tool. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I'm glad you're asking the right questions, Joseph. And one of the exactly. So one of the tools that I tend to work for me most of the time, 99% of the time, was don't aim for perfection. Don't aim to have
Mm,
all the information. Don't aim to get everything right. Don't aim to
mhm,
get everything perfect. Like even for the when I used to receive a gift from my team, they had this shirt on me. It says release first, fix later. So I was that CTO who would push to get things out, test them out, even if they're not perfect, even if they have bugs, even if they have issues. So I do believe that for a business to succeed, you need to think of, how do I get this out? How do I test it out? How do I see how it works in the real world? And then fix it along the way.
very cool. Now let's take a look at the future, Max. Let's assume we were to have this conversation again in 5 years, and we're reminiscing about the changes that happened in leadership over those years. What do you think we'd be talking about? So, what will be different in leadership in 5 years?
Well, in leadership, I think one of the things that will change in leadership is that you have to balance between you know, being kind and assertive. Uh, I wouldn't, assertiveness is not uh, is not a straight line, I would say, and it's very culturally biased. It's dependent on personalities and stuff. So I think in next year we will be talking about how important it is to adjust to as a leader, being able to adjust as a leader, so you don't stick to only one leadership style. My leadership style in certain companies has been more democratic, and in other companies where I was managing a downturn has been more autocratic, I would say.
Hmm.
I would use this word. But learning how to, I apologize for this, learning how to adjust your style, your leadership style, would be our discussions that we will have in 5 years.
Got it. Okay. Let me ask you a last question, Max, and then we're going to wrap it up. When you look at many tech leaders, when you look at how tech leaders usually run their teams, what's something that you would change if you could wave a magic wand or you could give them something to help them change the way they lead? What would you do?
Well, I would encourage every tech leader to learn how to work with people, especially internet. If you're managing international teams, you need to understand them better. You need to understand their culture, or you need to understand what
Yeah,
motivates them. And as a CTO, you need to understand that the CTO is not a technical role; it's a business role. Your role is even more business than any other role in the company. I would say more business oriented, in my
interesting.
opinion. So if you think only from the lenses of technology, there is not going to be a long-term success, neither for your career or for your business. I'm known in my industry as this product business driven CTO, as I was also holding the managing director role for the B2C part of Sigma. uh, Learning how to talk to business, how to think in business terms, how to think in terms of outcomes and impact, and not just technology, I think it's the key learning and the key to success in my opinion.
Got it. I said I would ask you the last question, Max. I'm changing my mind because you
Yeah, yeah,
said something
feel
I
free.
would like to follow up on that. You said the CTO is more of a business role than the others.
Absolutely.
Say more about that. I would love you to say more about that.
Well, you are the one that is building the core, the backbone of something that should succeed in the business. If you are not the one to understand and even more lead the way, lead the way and understand all the constraints and why we are building things, how will this succeed, and so on, you cannot expect for someone else to understand it. They
Yeah,
might understand the, let's say, somehow how the outcome should look like, but
got it.
how to deliver that outcome, it's up to you. No one can understand that.
Got it. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. Max, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the conversation. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It was a very good question, and it was a pleasure being a guest in your podcast. Thank you.
To everyone else out there, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us again for our next podcast. And most importantly, keep your brain cells active.